You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 4. My name is Jack. I am your host for this podcast, and I'm super excited to have you here. This podcast is all about helping you grow and manage your function musician business. Each week, I sit down with amazing guests, and we discuss what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them, and the valuable lessons that they've learned along the way. And together, we'll explore how to build a successful business without burning out in the process. I am pretty much going to dive straight into this one. I just want to give you a little reminder. You can download my 7 essential marketing strategies for function musicians. The link for that is in the episode description. It's a really good way to get started on your marketing this year and kind of figure out where you want to be putting your efforts. Also remind you that I am running a giveaway over on Instagram. You can find that by searching the Full-Time Function Musician on there, where you can win £100 to spend on some new equipment or put towards your business some way. Not that many people have entered so far, which is wild. So if it's going to be a pretty easy win for someone. So go and enter. Anyways, that's enough from me. Let's get into this episode. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Shalana Serafina. You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and on today's episode, I'm super excited to be joined for the second time by the wonderful Shalana Serafina. Shalana is a Somerset-based wedding and event singer, as well as a bit of a social media expert, and was on the podcast back almost a year ago now, I think, if not over a year ago, on episode 5. And Shalana, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, Jack. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. So in the last episode, which was one of the most popular episodes, actually, to let you know, I think we gave a really good overview of how you can use social media in your business. And so I thought it would be a great idea to have you back on and see maybe what's changed over the last year, and maybe get a little bit more specific with what function musicians and bands specifically can do, or how they can use it in their business. And I'm also very excited to hear how your first full year as a full-time musician went as well. Some of the ups and downs, hopefully more ups and downs. But yeah, let's start there. How did last year go for you?
It's been an eye-opener of a year. It's been really good. And of course, like you said, I've had ups and downs. I've had like the mental ups and downs of like, am I doing the right thing? Is my time done now? Do I keep going? And also like the physical ups and downs of maybe putting too much on myself and just trying to find the right balance as well. Yeah. Because especially when you come from a 9 to 5 and you have to be at work at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You're leaving at 5. You've got that routine. It's so completely different when there's nothing really to get you out of bed.
You've got to be so disciplined, haven't you?
So disciplined. And I've really struggled with that in during the winter time. But at the moment, I don't know if it's hashtag New Year, New Me, but I've started to get up at a decent time now and just crack on with lots of stuff. I mean, I think that's probably because of a better mental mindset as well. But yes, it's been, I will say it's been a good year overall.
Good. Yeah, good to hear. But yeah, you do have to be so disciplined. I haven't quite managed it myself. I've been self-employed since 2018, I think, and I still haven't managed to completely like figure things out on how my schedule works and stuff. But I'm definitely better and more manageable at it now.
Well done. There's hope for me yet.
It might take a few more years. But so how have things gone in terms of work then? Getting plenty of gigs?
Yeah, so obviously, as you know, and a little recap for people that may have listened to our first podcast together, I left my full-time job in October 2023. But I feel like I properly started Shalana Serafina Weddings in January 2024. That's when I had my show reel made with you. That's when I had my branded photo shoot. That's when I got my website up and running. And that's when I feel like I recovered properly from my broken arm. So let's say, it's been a year. In terms of the singing, I feel like it was a really kind of slow start because I started to push myself into this niche of weddings. And a lot of my bookings were coming in for this year, not necessarily 2024. So I was beating myself up a little bit because I was like, I just want to get going now. Yeah. But people are very organized. And I had a couple of last minute bookings for 2024, which was really good. But mainly I did a lot of like friends' weddings and friends of friends' weddings that were kind of done on the cheap or at a discount, purely to help build myself, especially online, with this visual image of I am a wedding singer. And actually now it's kind of strange, like especially towards the end of last year and now coming into 2025, I've booked so many public gigs, which is great because it's bringing in the money and I'm getting to kind of choose the venues that I want to be in, which is really nice. And instead of knocking on everyone's door, I'm actually getting people knocking on my door now, which awesome. Like is every musician's dream. The weddings are still coming through, but they're still kind of at a slow pace. And I don't know if that's because I'm impatient and I wish things were moving along a bit quicker than they are. But when I talk to friends and family, they're like, look at where you were last year and look at where you are this year.
So important to look back, isn't it?
It is. And I know we're going to talk a lot about social media in a minute, but you do look at socials and you're like, well, they're saying that they are booking hundreds of thousands of weddings this month and their inbox is, stacked and they are finding the time to reply and they're having to turn business away. I haven't even had one inquiry this month. So it is hard to not compare.
Yeah.
And I have to tell myself a lot. Don't look at other people's journeys. Look at your own.
Yeah. Got to run your own race.
Exactly. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's path is different. And everyone's location is different. Circumstances are different. So, yes, I'm in a positive mood, despite the fact that I would like to still be booking a few more of the private events, but we'll get there, Jack.
Yeah. I think that's why, like, we've spoken about this on the podcast before about setting goals and why that's so important as well. So, like, I'm sure you'd set goals and I'm sure you've reached those goals now. And then, I know once you reach them, you want to set new ones and stuff, but it's important to be like, yes, I achieved that. And now, I want more, but it's still great to be where you wanted to be a year ago. You need to give yourself a pat on the back more, or all of us do, for that.
100%. And also, like, I think having confidence in yourself that you're going to do this business of yours is going to succeed. Having that mindset is so important, and it's so hard to have it sometimes. Again, when you're looking at people on social media and you're thinking, well, why aren't I there? Or, she started around the same time as me and she seems to be booking loads of weddings. What's going on here? It is just having that sense of, no, I'm doing well.
Yeah.
And it's hard as well. Like, I don't feel like I've never really been that type of person to give myself much credit. Mm-hmm. So it does take a bit of time to get into that mindset, but I think it's so important to keep going.
Yeah.
And I feel like you put the hard work in, even if it doesn't pay off straight away, one day it will. And you'll look back and you'll be thankful to yourself for putting all of that hard work in.
Yeah. I mean, they say, like, all social media is sowing seeds for a harvest that you can, sowing seeds for fruit you can harvest in the future. And they say, like, work work you're putting in now to advertise yourself should come into fruition maybe in 3 months' time or something. So if you go through a quiet period, it's probably because you weren't doing something like 3 months ago that you probably should be doing. But having said that, it's hard to always be on it, and you got to give yourself a break sometime. And I think it's also important to remember that the social media is a tool, and not all of it is 100% real. So it's so hard to, and this is in general life as well, not just in your business, but it's so hard not to compare yourself to other people and how successful they're doing.
100%. And that's why I want to be completely honest on this podcast with you today, because I have a lot of people that slide into my DMs and they're like, "Oh, you're so busy." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm just really good at marketing."
Yeah. I think it is important to make yourself, to your customers, to make yourself look busy. But the thing I especially love about like the wedding scene community is there is such a community, and I feel like everyone's good friends and always talking about the ups and downs and everything.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm so lucky, especially coming from an acting background, where that industry was very dog eat dog and you were out for yourself. It was not a nice industry to be in, and I found it really hard to find like-minded people, to now be in this industry where absolutely, like you said, we are all each other's cheerleader. And I'm more than happy if someone comes into my DMs and says, "How are you doing it? How are you so busy?" I'm more than happy to tell them it's the facade of social media. I'm just making myself look busy for my ideal client so that they go, "Oh, she's busy. Let's, book in with her." But to you, fellow wedding singer, please don't judge yourself by looking at my socials, because you're doing great too.
Yeah.
I just have a background in social media, so I know how to make myself look busy. That's all it is. And actually, what's funny is, if I'm quiet on social media, most of the time, that's because I'm really busy.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And I don't have the time to post. So yeah, it's funny, reverse psychology.
Yeah.
But yes, and that's why I'm completely happy to say, yes, it's been a really good year, Jack. It's not been as busy as I would have liked it to be. And actually, I've done a lot of friends' weddings over, complete strangers. But that's okay, because it's helping, and it's showing now it's helped my business grow.
Yeah.
And I am getting complete strangers wanting to give me their money to sing at their wedding, which is bizarre.
It's such a nice feeling though, right?
So nice.
But I think as well, maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit. If you haven't been doing it that long, the business hasn't been going that long, and a lot of people as well listening will be the same. I guess it is impatience, and you want to be where you want to be, but businesses take a while to grow. They're not overnight things, or there's that overnight success that was like 12 years in the making or something.
Yes. 100%. And you know what? I've actually had this conversation recently, because my partner and I are thinking about buying a house together. And I've been thinking, do I need to get a full-time job now? Have I given the wedding singing a go? And that's it. I can't quite make a full income from it. And let's just call it a day. You've given it a go. And everyone that's close to me in my life has said, "Shalana, you've only given it a year." And I'm like, "Is a year not long enough?" And they're like, "No, keep going. Look, you are growing. Your business is growing. So you'll get there."
That's it. It's important to keep track of those numbers as well. Like year on year, did you make more money than you did last year? If that's a yes, then you're doing something right. And if you didn't, then that's also not the worst thing in the world. Sometimes, you don't have to be hard on yourself. But no, I think, definitely keep track of those numbers and and give yourself a break when you're doing well.
And success can be presented in different ways. Like you said, it doesn't just have to be, did I make more money from this? It can be like, are people starting to notice me as a wedding singer now? Yeah. Am I starting to build a reputation for myself within this industry? Am I starting to build a reputation for myself locally within the area I want to perform in? So definitely success doesn't just have to be in monetary terms.
But as well as if you used to be full-time employed, do you prefer your life now when you've got more time to spend with your friends and family and do the things that you love and just enjoying your life a bit more? Because that's surely probably the best end goal, right?
100%.
That's why we do that's why we're all self-employed, I assume. Like.
Precisely. And I'll probably get into this. Well, I guess I can get into this now. Because I want to be completely transparent. So you might have remembered in our last podcast, I kind of said to you, I quit my job without any real idea of how I was going to reach my goal. I just knew I wanted to be a wedding singer and I wanted to make a full-time income from wedding singing. So I was going to trust whatever the universe kind of put in my way and just go with the flow. Because in a way, sometimes I felt like in the past, I almost restricted myself from opportunities because that was not the path I'd aligned for myself.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be a bit more free and just, go with the flow. So funnily enough, funnily enough, I had loads of emails coming through and messages of people, businesses asking me if I could do their socials for them on a freelance basis. And I was like, guys, no, I am a wedding singer now. Leave me alone. But then also I was like, actually, maybe I can make this work for me. And I ended up taking on a social media job that was 2 days a week. So it wasn't the 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And I charged them a decent amount of money. I saw how much the company I was working with before were charging me out as an individual. And I was thinking, well, if people are willing to pay for me for that there, then why can't I charge that now as an individual? Because no one else was putting the work in there. I was their only social media manager at that company. I didn't have an assistant. It was all me. So if people were willing to pay that then, why can't I charge that now? And I will say, like, doing that really helped with the freedom of being self-employed in a weird way, because I knew I was getting that consistent income coming in. I was only doing social media now 2 times a week, but I still had plenty of time to focus on my business, my main business, which was obviously the singing, the wedding singing. So being self-employed, I've been able to kind of create this perfect little life for myself so that everything is absolutely balanced.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky now. I don't work with that client anymore because I don't need to. But for the 8 months that I did last year, I was able to go on holidays without having to think, oh, can I have this time off work? Can I afford it? And like I said, last year's wedding season was quite quiet for me because I was booking things for this year. So in a way, it was kind of perfect to go on all these little breaks before I get to a point in my life where summers just aren't a thing because, wedding season. So I definitely prefer the lifestyle now. Like I said earlier, it's just having that discipline to kind of lay out your day, get up in the mornings and make sure you're cracking on. That's the main thing that I'm still trying to get into a routine with. I go and visit my mum every Thursday, so that's kept a bit of a routine in my week, knowing, right, Thursdays, going to see mum. But yeah, definitely, I much prefer the lifestyle and the freedom I have now that I'm self-employed.
Yeah. I think it's important as well to in those sort of quieter periods, especially when you've been in business for like a little bit longer and you kind of can see the patterns throughout the year, and okay, well, generally January is a bit quieter. Mm-hmm. Go on holiday then and take the time off and don't feel bad about it or guilty because you're not busy. Like, actually enjoy it, because the times will come again when you won't have time to do that. Exactly that.
And I've, in a weird way, just enjoyed doing loads of admin that I've put off for ages during January and feeling really accomplished. Did my tax return early. I usually leave to the last day in January.
Tell you what, the working on your business rather than in it stuff always feels really satisfying to me. And I feel like I try and set out a day a week now, which I completely didn't do last year. And I feel like I could have probably grown a bit further quicker if I had done it. But now I'm doing every Monday is work on the business day. So I've got a to-do list and try and tick those things off every Monday.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And at least, you're already setting a routine there by going Mondays, admin.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So you've been working on the social media stuff alongside the wedding stuff, and now you're starting to do that for wedding suppliers as well?
Specifically, yes. So I've been working in social media management for a long time, and even going self-employed and trying to pursue my career full-time in singing, I still couldn't escape it by having this client last year. But it was all good. However, I have this love-hate relationship with social media, I think, probably like many people, but working on it as well for so long and so intensely, I've kind of fallen out of love with social media management. And I'm just thinking now, like, especially in the year I've had so many people slide into my DMs, so many people in person that have said to me, "Oh, we love your Instagram. Like, how do you do it?" Or, you've got whatever thousands, millions of views on that reel. How do you do it? And I've just found myself having to answer the same questions a lot, which I'm more than happy to do. I'm happy to give advice wherever I can. But it's made me realize, like, there is a bit of a market out there for people that just need a little bit of help with their socials, that can't necessarily afford to pay for a social media manager on a monthly basis, especially when you're in the wedding industry and your work is quite seasonal. Has a bit of time to do their own socials, but doesn't necessarily have the capabilities to create, and this is where I come in, short form video content. So trying to steer away from the social media management side of things, I've thought about, this career that I've had over the last few years and what elements of social media management I've liked the most. And it's an easy answer. It's the creative side, and more importantly, the video and video editing side of content creation. And I've always loved video editing. Like, as a kid, I'd always be that person taking video cameras to like a cousin's wedding or whatever. I'd always be the person with a camera, but there was never a job really out there for someone like me who wasn't good enough to kind of, I don't know, do what you do or go into editing for film or TV. And then suddenly Instagram came along and TikTok came along and Reels came along, and I had experimented with transitions, and I'd obviously used my content creation and my video skills from, growing up for Reels suddenly, and it kind of worked. So yeah, I guess now I've just gone, I can create Reels for people that either don't have the time for it, don't know how to create slick looking content, or can't come up with the ideas, don't know how to edit, or don't like the thought of editing. I can take that all away from people, produce some content for them, tell them exactly how to upload their reels to Instagram so that each reel is optimized with your captions, with the type of trending sound that you use, your cover photo, and then just leave you to upload it when you want to upload it without you having to constantly pay on a monthly basis for a social media manager. So it is perfect for people that have a bit of time to do their own socials, but don't necessarily have the means to make video content. And you know better than anyone, especially with social media at the moment, video is king.
Yeah.
You need to be posting videos. It's so important to grow your business and to reach new audiences. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want to do. So yes, that is my new little side hustle, which I feel works kind of nicely with the wedding side of things. And people can look at my own socials now and kind of get an idea of what I do and how I can do it and how it works as well. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk about your social media for a little bit then. So you've been growing that nicely over the last sort of year or so. Do you find that it is bringing in work for you as well?
So interestingly, I do get inquiries through Instagram, but what I found quite interesting is that people will find me on other platforms and they'll say to me, we went to your Instagram and that was the thing that sealed the deal for us.
Right.
So like that's happened to me.
What other platforms are they finding you on?
So that happened to me multiple times on Hitched.
Right. Yeah.
So they'd inquired through Hitched, and I don't know if they went to my website and then found my Instagram, or they just typed my name in Instagram straight away, had a peruse, and the Instagram was the thing that made them go, yes, this is the girl we need for our wedding, which I found really interesting because that wasn't a direct hit through someone following me or finding me through Instagram. That was an external platform. So I found it's worked for me in several different ways. And even you might have seen the other day, there was a big wedding singers meetup in Birmingham, which was really lovely. And I'm sure you were like, I know her. Oh, I know her. Done a reel for her. But it was so lovely to meet everyone. And like we said, there's a lovely community of us online. So to meet everyone in person was lovely. But there was one girl, Laura, that came up to me, gave me a big hug and was like, Shalana, when I think of you, I just think of oranges and pinks and your Instagram page. And I was thinking, that's kind of amazing. Like that means my branding is working.
That's literally what branding is, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I really didn't think about it that much until she said that. I was like, wow, like this is how important this is. And it is obviously working. When I started up my wedding Instagram page, I just thought, what reflects me the most and what is different from what everyone else is posting? And like the nice white and cream aesthetics, the clean kind of looking wedding Instagram, or I don't know, that kind of vibe is really pretty. But what can I do that's still wedding vibes, but is also unique?
Yeah.
So the fact that she said that was like, cool. Okay. Again, like another like way to measure success, isn't it? Without it necessarily being money, is someone literally saying to you, your branding is what makes me think of you.
Yeah.
In my head. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting to see like how it's working as well. Because I think maybe just because I've talked about it like this on the podcast before, but like social media isn't that the one and everything that's going to like solve all your problems and be the thing to make your business successful. It plays a big role in all the other things as well. And I think that just really nicely put it into how it works.
Absolutely. But yeah, overall, like you said, it's been a year since I started my Instagram, and on your last podcast, I was kind of giving all these tips and saying, do as I say, not as I do, because I have not had the time to put into my personal socials. But now I've had the time to put into my wedding business socials. I'm able to say, no, actually, go and have a look and don't do as I do. So yeah, it's been cool over a year to see how the hard work and the endless amount of hours and time has paid off.
How much time do you spend putting stuff together?
I couldn't even tell you, and I'd hate to look at the time I've spent on my phone on Instagram, because you can get the analytics on your phone, can't you? I'll be honest, it's more streamlined now, because over the year I've created templates that just kind of live in Canva, and then every now and again all I have to do is swap out the picture and change the text. So there was probably a lot more time that went into it at the beginning to create these posts. The most time consuming thing, and this is why I want to help others with it, is the video stuff. But at the same time, you need to do it. So it's yes, there's been a lot of time that's gone into it, but it has all kind of paid off, and it all happens quite naturally now.
Yeah.
I've got to the point where in January I've decided to post 4 posts a week rather than 3, because I feel like I'm at a place where I can do that without putting too much pressure on myself. If you'd asked me this time last year, or even in the summertime, do you think you'd have the mental and physical capacity to do that? I would have been like, no. But now, just adding 1 extra post in a week has not really affected my life too much.
Yeah.
I do like to put my phone down, though. I will say that, like, it is nice at a certain point in the evening to just put it kind of out of sight, out of mind, and not look at it. Because
I try and do that, but
it's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Especially when you're like waiting for a reply from someone like that you're like a potential booking that you're like really excited about and stuff. And so I just want to see if they've replied. Like,
I know.
It's bad, but it's, I try and do it. Yeah. I try and leave it in the kitchen, but it doesn't always work.
I would love to get to a point in my career where I can make my posts and I can make my captions and I can just give them to someone else to do the uploading and the engagement and the stories bit. Oh, that would be my dream.
You could really get rid of social media off your phone then, couldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always say like, I'd love to get rid of social media, but I feel like it's still important to keep an eye on what's actually going on and not in like just the general world, but I mean in like this world that we're in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep up with what's going on. It is important. And actually that's the other thing. Like, I know it's really easy to get down a deep, dark hole of like the Instagram scroll. But I will say 99.9% of the time, if I'm scrolling on Instagram, I'm always scrolling with intent, which is...
That's not something I can say.
I'm always looking for like low usage trending sounds, or how can I make that real apply to me? Like, how can I recreate that but in a Wedding Singer type of way? So I'm always, if I'm on it, I am always on it with
researching.
Precisely, yes.
This podcast is sponsored by my business, In Focus Recording Company. At In Focus, we specialize in creating exciting cinematic show reels for professional function musicians. We also offer photo shoots and custom logo design, helping you bring all your branding together into one cohesive package. Whether you're a solo artist or part of a 12-piece luxury show band, having standout promo material and strong branding is essential to growing your business and booking more gigs. If you're interested in checking out some of our work and learning more, head over to infocusrecordingcompany.co.uk. So that's my first sort of question is like what or if anything, it may be nothing, but what's kind of changed in the last year, do you think, in terms of like what's working or what's not working?
For me personally, or Instagram?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be easiest for you to know what's working for you, but if you have an idea on what is just generally working in social media, that'd be good.
I said to you in our last podcast that people don't react as much to my singing videos, as they do to other types of posts. And that is still the case. I get a lot more views, I get a lot more engagement on my singing videos now, but I assume that's just because my following has grown. But I've tried to leverage the fact that people do engage with my other types of posts more to still bring in my ideal client. Mm-hmm. If I'm posting wedding related tips, one thing I've really found, which I think is definitely useful for anyone listening if they haven't tried this yet, is if I post a singing video, but I've put text on top of it and I'm telling a bit of a story, those types of videos always do much better than if I'm just sat here singing. And I guess that's because there's lots to engage with. You want to watch the video, you want to read the text, and you might watch it twice because first time you're reading the story and what's happening, and second time you're watching the video. Yeah. And yes, when I'm singing on those, I'm like, okay, that's still good, because if this goes viral, at least even if you can't see my face, you know that I'm singing in that video. Or even if the story isn't necessarily relating to me as a wedding singer, you still know that I am there singing as a wedding singer at someone's wedding. So
interesting.
It's just about thinking like cleverly how you can market yourself, and I guess in this sense without being too pushy and without
no one wants to be the sleazy salesperson on their Instagram, do they?
Precisely. So yeah, I guess my advice would be, and I don't necessarily know if this is a new thing, but if people are listening to this and they're thinking that their content's getting a bit stale, if you can put some kind of storyline onto your video or create a story out of your video, just see if that works. For example,
do you have an example? Yeah, you were just going to say give an example.
Yeah, so I did a video, and do you know how this came about, Jack? I was purely going through all the weddings I'd performed at and just trying to find a clip that I hadn't posted yet that could be good for the gram. That's all it was. Found a video of a wedding I sang at a couple of years ago now. So this has been sat in my phone for a while. And I just noticed that in the corner of the video, there were two little girls that were the bridesmaids of this wedding looking over at me and chatting to each other and singing along. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. I've never noticed that was happening in this video. So I then put out a reel basically being like, this was me at a wedding, and I've only just noticed this. And then I've kind of zoomed into the two girls who are singing along. And then they obviously have a conversation with each other because they keep looking over to me. So I've said at the end of the video, like, what do you think was said? Which not only created a story, but it also got people engaging in the comments with what they thought they said. And I did think like some people might be coming up with rude things here, like she's terrible, but actually everyone was really lovely. And I think if you can just go back through your videos, if you've got live footage from weddings or functions and events, just see what's happening in the background, because you just never know. There's a girl that does this really well on Instagram. Her name is Lily Kirby, and you never see her singing. You only ever see the audience reaction. And she'll film people at weddings giving her like mad song requests. And then she'll just break into like Tribute by Tenacious D, and you'll get the reaction of the crowd being like, what?
Yeah, she was on the podcast. If you haven't listened to that episode.
There it is. No. Oh, I have to go back on that.
It's a good episode. One of my faves. Yeah, like definitely go and listen to that. But yeah, I love her social media.
Yes, and she's fantastic at storytelling. Yeah. And even though her as a wedding singer isn't the primary point of that video, you then realize, oh, she's a wedding singer because she's singing throughout the entirety of this video. But I've been invested in the storyline. So, yeah, if you want some inspo, definitely see how she records her videos. And like I said, go back through your old footage and see if there's anything you've picked up at gigs that you could kind of make a story out of. I also had another bride send me a video of the band that played in the evening, who finished off their set with Can't Help Falling in Love. And she walked down the aisle to me singing Can't Help Falling in Love. So I asked for the clip, and I just snipped it together and created the story of like, have you ever seen something like this at a wedding before? Do you think it was intentional that I started the wedding with this song and the band finished the wedding with this song?
Yeah.
So just, find ways that you can create stories, I guess. That is the thing that has really helped me grow, I think, on my socials.
Yeah, I mean, you said something that maybe seems obvious and I haven't really thought of before, but finding inspiration and the videos that I'm scrolling through and trying to recreate them in your own way and things like is something I haven't really done. But the ones you figure out what the videos that you engage with or the posts that you engage with, and that's sort of assume what will work again, hopefully.
100%. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for people sometimes, just coming up with the content ideas. But like I said, so if you scroll with intention, you'll always find something that could apply to you that you can just recycle but make it your own. I would never really recommend copying, like carbon copying people, like make it your own. You've also got a thing now called Meta AI, which is in your like messages side of your Instagram page, which can help you with content ideas. And even like ChatGPT, like if you're really stuck for ideas, telling them over there what your niche is, and asking what are people in my niche, what are my target audience Googling right now, what questions are they asking online, and figure out how you can answer them. Because
I'm finding ChatGPT really useful at the minute, I think, because I'm learning how to use it better. And it's also learning my business, because it remembers everything, that the conversations you've had, all the things you've asked for, and now like it will instantly remember all the things that it needs to. And if you ask it the right questions and put the right info in, it's not just asking it like a simple one sentence line and that's going to work. You need to give it as much information as possible, and it will give you some actually good stuff out. Like I'm finding it really useful at the minute.
I will always say with ChatGPT, just write. And you can get some really, really good stuff out of it. And I do just kind of, what's the word? I write without like much structure.
I waffle into it.
I don't know what the writing version is of word vomiting.
Yeah.
That, and it absolutely, a stream of consciousness. That's what I'm thinking of. Just write everything down, and it will pick everything up and make concise suggestions for you. So
it's not always perfect, but it could definitely help with springing some ideas up.
Yeah, when it comes to ideas, absolutely, exactly. And I think that's what people struggle with a lot. Like, what do I post?
I at first I started to try and use it for captions, and it really wasn't working for that. It's too cheesy and it's not relatable, and it doesn't work for that. But for more behind the scenes stuff, it's really good, I think.
Behind the scenes and giving you inspiration. Yeah. Absolutely. So I'd say that's something I've definitely learned in the last year to round that question up nicely. Storytelling has been so important for me, and I would encourage anyone to do it through their videos if they can. Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned earlier, obviously, that video is king on Instagram, but do other types of content work as well? Do you use any other types of content?
I do. I change things up. I will always do carousels.
Needs to be a carousel, right? Not just a single photo.
You're going to get more out of a carousel, just purely because there's more actions. There are more actions that people can take on a carousel by either swiping. And also, if you post a carousel, say your first image is bypassed by someone on their feed on day one, on day two, they'll post to that person's feed your second image, right, which might then engage them a bit more because the second post was something slightly different. So I would always say where you can post carousels. The only time I post single posts and they do kind of well is if it's a picture of myself. And usually if it's like a professional looking, quite polished picture of myself. Yeah. But I don't really like posting those just for the sake of posting them. If it's a like introducing me post, then I will. But other than that, I don't really like doing it. That's just like a self-conscious thing. Yeah. If you have the confidence to do it, do it. But carousel posts and obviously stories consistently. Again, it's just another thing to do, but they are really helpful. But yeah, I would say as many reels as you can, if you can. Yeah. So, I'm finding stories are doing quite well for me at the minute, and because I'm constantly doing it, and it's almost like I've always got at least one thing up there, no matter what it is, and that always gets pretty good engagement at the minute. Good. That's really good. That is good. Yeah, you do get into a flow with it. I think at the beginning, same with posting to the grid, it is a slog until you start to build up momentum and a bit of a pattern with things. And And it's also good, like, you don't always have to show your face on stories. There are other things you can do to show up every day. And it's just about knowing what those things are.
Yeah. You mentioned like wedding tips and stuff earlier as well, which obviously is quite specific for wedding musicians.
Yeah.
Do you post that kind of content, and like how do you post it? Is that in carousels as well, or in videos, or?
I have posted them in carousels, and they just don't perform as well as they do when I post them in reels.
Yeah.
If I'm giving informative information regarding the wedding industry, I will always make sure my reels are around the 5-second mark, which I know some people listening will seem mad, because it's like, how can you read stuff in 5 seconds? But actually what it does is it leaves your reel on a loop, because people are reading the information on the video. So it means that you build up more views, because Instagram's going, oh, this person is watching this reel more than once. It must be valuable then, or it must be good. And in turn, it pushes it out further, and the same thing happens until it goes further and further and further until it stops. And what I'm finding, especially with reels like that, now, like, I still get like likes on those videos that were posted 4, 5, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So somehow they're still getting pushed out. And that's the other thing. I feel like maybe carousel posts and still photos come to a bit of a dead end. But with reels, I feel like they have quite a long lifespan. Again, which is why I'd always recommend, if you can, to get your videos out more so than the static posts.
Yeah. 5 seconds there. Just... I don't think anything on mine is under, well, probably 30 seconds. But
I know. And it's really hard with you, actually, because I can't do singing videos for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And a lot of your content are of people singing. So it is hard with the singing videos. With the 5-second videos, there's one that's pinned to the top of my reel tab. It's literally me walking down a bridge, but I've put text on it. It's like tips for your wedding website. And what's funny as well, like you'll get people in your comments being like, this is really obvious. And like people just being really rude. And I'm like, good, keep it coming, because that's good engagement for me. But like, I just find stuff like that really funny. But yeah, that's not necessarily a video of me singing in the background. Yeah. It's me walking along a bridge.
Yeah.
It is harder with the singing stuff. It's just thinking about creative ways of getting those types of videos out, because that is what you do. Yeah. But with a bit of a creative spin, educational spin.
Yeah. I'm going to mess this up completely, but there's like the 3 eyes or something like that. It's not that, but it's like, it's got to be informative, entertaining, something else and something else, right?
Educational. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And those types of reels and posts in general do better than if I just talk about me for half a paragraph. So there is something to be said.
I suppose it doesn't necessarily have to reach far and wide throughout the whole world as well to matter for your business. It's all about having, even if it's a small audience, an engaged audience, right? So
100%. And that's the other thing. I will always say, like, you might have someone that's got 35,000 followers, but if most of those people are in Mexico, I don't know, like Iceland, and you're not willing to travel or take your work to there, is that going to help you with your main goal, which is creating an income from your business? No. But if you've got 100 followers who are all really engaged and absolutely want to hire you for what they want, and they're all based in your catchment area, then that's 100 times better. But as a society, I think we're locked into kind of number metrics.
More is better.
Yeah, which is really bad, but we all do it, which is why I've tried to build my following for the people that go, oh, she's got over 3,000 followers as opposed to the person that's got 300. She must be better, which is so stupid because that is not the way it works at all. You might have someone that has no Instagram or social media presence at all, but they're flipping amazing. And it is, it's just, it's silly. It is silly, but we've got to keep up with it, haven't we? And we've got to, be present on those platforms.
So sort of just, I guess, to sum up on this kind of part of it, what kind of content do you think function musicians specifically can sort of start posting?
I guess going back to the whole storytelling side of things.
Is that telling stories about themselves or about their day, or like as in the wedding day that they've just had? Or
absolutely. I mean, even if it's like a vlog, like follow me in the day of a life of.
Quick question on that. Do you think posting like a voiceover on top of that, or writing a block caption, like you said, and posting that on top of the video, if that makes sense? Which do you think that one of those works better?
Interesting. So I've experimented with both, and I find it more time consuming to do a voiceover on top, but I have found that when I do a voiceover, it kind of works better for me, which is frustrating because it's just one other element that you need to edit into a video, time consuming. But I've got into a nice medium of kind of starting my vlog type videos off now with saying, follow me in the day of a life of a wedding singer, or follow me in the day of a life of a public gig singer. And then I'll do a very quick cut vlog. And I actually think whether you voice over or not, it all comes down to the time of the video. And I feel like 15 to 20 seconds is probably the sweet spot for me. Again, everyone's different. But I feel like if I spend too many seconds showing a clip of the bar that I'm going to sing at, engagement just drops. So if my clips are very quick, and I'll always try and put like a fancy transition in there somewhere to keep engagement alive, i.e. like I'm in my pajamas and then I'll do a click and I'm suddenly changed for my gig.
Yeah.
Just to keep things interesting. Just think about how you can make your vlog interesting, because not everything in your day is going to be interesting. And maybe if you're like, actually I had a really boring day today, maybe putting a voiceover on top of it can be the thing that makes that reel more engaging. So again, I know it's not what people want to hear, but it is just trial and error. Do two vlogs of 2 different days, try one with a voiceover and one without, do them at 2 different times and just see 2 different lengths and just see what works for you.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, behind the scenes stuff always does better than anything else.
Yeah, I as a consumer of social media content, I really like to watch those types of videos. Yeah. I would say do stuff like that, the behind the scenes, and like we said earlier, the Lily Kirby is really good at doing the kind of audience reaction type stuff as well. So it's not just look at me singing. It's you're following a story through still listening to her sing.
Yeah, she's absolutely blown up, especially since she was on the podcast. Like, definitely go back and listen to that episode. It was such a good one.
I'm going to.
So, I mean, I guess that pretty much covers everything on our topic list, unless there's anything else that you think we should have a conversation about.
Well, I will say, because I don't want to gatekeep this, but I know it's really hard for people to take content of themselves at gigs, especially if they're a one-man band. It's like the last thing on your to-do list, especially when you're performing. Your main priority at that point is to perform and to do a good job and to entertain and to make sure the venue and your customers, the clients in the room are happy. However, I found a new little trick which might be helpful to others. So I have acquired an Apple Watch this year, or in the last few months. And I know they're not the most aesthetically pleasing watches, so might not be appropriate for gigs, but you can buy, smart looking straps that you can pop onto them. But if you have an iPhone, you can actually record from your watch, from your phone, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you like hit the record button.
Precisely. So what I've started doing now at my gigs is I'll set up my phone on a tripod and just put it somewhere in the room where I know you've got a little bit of me in the shot, but also the crowd or the audience in the shot. And if there's a particularly good moment, like someone's screaming at the top of their voice to Valerie or whatever, they're just having the best time, or something happens, and I know, this could make good content. All I have to do is just press record on my watch really subtly, and I'm already filming that without having to go back to my phone and stop my song halfway through and think about my levels, and also pressing record on my phone and it comes across quite organic, especially because the people that you might be filming might not necessarily know that you are, so they don't get nervous in the moment. And where I can, I'll always ask people, like, do you mind if this goes up on social media? And I know you can't always do that. And obviously, if anyone was to come over to me and say, you've just uploaded a video of me and I'm not quite happy about that, can you take it down, please? Of course, I'd be like, that is no problem at all. But yeah, I would say if anyone does have an iPhone, if they are able to invest in an Apple Watch, that has just been a game changer for me in taking content without really having to try too hard during gigs when I'm by myself and I don't have anyone to film me.
I suppose it's too hard as well just to have to film the whole thing, because there's not that much battery space on these phones. And if it stops recording and you've missed something, you don't really know about it. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah, exactly. You can do it subtly.
Yeah, I mean, capturing candid things at weddings and stuff like that is like, even from like professional videographer point of view, the second they see the camera, they stop smiling and they stop doing whatever they were doing.
Exactly. So yeah, I know it's hard to put on all these hats when all you want to do is perform, but that's another way to get stuff done that you'll be appreciative for later on down the line, when you know you've got content or you've captured an awesome moment from a gig and no one else was there to film it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think there's some really good actionable tips in that conversation that people can start, like, hopefully growing their social medias with. So let's move on to the last bit of the show, which is the quick fire round. And this is related to your business and I guess things that have gone, how things have gone in the last year and whatnot. So question 1 is, what is the most effective thing that you've done to market yourself or your business?
You're not going to be surprised by this, Jack, but putting the time and effort into my socials.
Makes sense.
I'm so used to kind of doing it for everyone else, but to actually sit down and properly plan everything and work on my own account and my own business as if I were a paying client has worked really well for me. And like I said, even comments like I had the other day with, Shalana, when I think of you, I think of bright pinks and oranges. That is just a sign to me that, that this hard work is paying off. And similarly to you, on a Monday when you'll do your admin, I will make sure I have a day where I plan my content ideas and I've written it all down, and then how I'm going to execute that video and what the caption's going to be about. So I already know what I'm going to write about or what I'm going to film in the next few weeks. But yes, putting my time really and truly into my socials, specifically my Instagram, has been a very effective thing this year.
Good. So next question is, what have you learned in the last 3 months that you wish you knew 3 years ago? But maybe we could base this on what have you learned sort of this in the last 3 months that you wish you knew at the start of last year or something? So
putting social media aside for a second, as much as, it's great to be online and showcase yourself through social platforms, I've realized how important networking in person is. And more importantly, in my area, the area I want to work in. And I've built so many relationships with lovely people this year who just want to help me, like the wedding singer community. I feel like, and I don't know if it's the same for other parts of the country, but in Somerset, everyone is just here to kind of support you. So making connections through wedding fairs, going to networking events, and just keeping in touch with people and what's going on in the industry, and not being scared to ask for help and advice as well. And I feel like, even styled shoots, that's something that I haven't necessarily been paid to do, but the value I've got from meeting people through those has been amazing. And it's just about keeping you at the top of people's minds as well. And I've gained work through recommendations of people I've met in the wedding industry. I guess I have learnt that to not undervalue the idea of networking person.
Super important. Do you use any specific tools or apps to manage your business? And maybe something that isn't Instagram or social media?
So I use an app called Monday. I don't know if you've heard of it.
That's like project management kind of thing, is it?
And I've used something very similar to it called Asana that's free in the past, and I just haven't managed to get on with that as well as I have Monday, even though they're very similar in style. But Monday is free. You can buy a paid version, but for now I don't need that. But I use that for all my gigs, to track all my gigs. So I know what I've got coming up. I know if I've sent an invoice out. I know if I've been paid. I know how much I need to be paid. If someone's paid a deposit and needs to pay the remaining fee, I know what time I need to be at said gig. And you can put your location for the gig in there too. So Monday's amazing for that. But also what I found it really useful for is I track my inquiries on Monday. So if I get an inquiry in, I'll always say, I'll always put who the inquiry was from, whether we ended up having a video call, but most importantly, where that inquiry came from. So then at the bottom, I can see where most of my inquiries have come from, because it puts it in a little graph for you.
How do you find that out? Are you just asking?
I'm either, so on my website contact form, I put at the bottom, how did you hear about me?
Nice,
And people will always say, or if they've come directly into my DMs on Facebook, I'll know it's Facebook. And likewise, if they've come to Hitched, I'll know it's Hitched. But through my website, there's always a button there that says, how did you find me? And still, similarly to last year, it's Facebook. It's still Facebook. Put all this time and effort into Instagram, but it's still Facebook. So I find Monday really useful for that, because then you know where to put your marketing efforts going forward.
It also gives you some brain space as well. So if you've got that information stored somewhere else, it doesn't need to be in your brain. And I'm saying this, like, I know that it's super useful. I haven't set one up yet. That's one of the things that has been on my to-do list since last year, that because I didn't set time aside to set it up, because there is like a bit of a setup involved in these things as well. And what I was looking at using is called Dubsado, I think, which is a very similar thing. So that's on my to-do list now, to get that set up and be more organized with that kind of thing.
I've used Dubsado before as well, with my social management stuff, and that's a lot more technical, I think. The platform is a really good platform.
Maybe I'll take a look at Monday then as well, because that's what I guess why I've been putting off for so long as well, because I did download it and had a look through it. I was like, this is going to take a day to figure it out. But
I think especially with the inquiries, absolutely, like you said, it's just taking it out of your brain and it's just there in writing. And also, if I need to follow people up, it's there in writing. I know.
Remind you,
Exactly. So I'll always pop back and be like, oh, haven't heard from that person for a few months. Let's drop an email to them and see if they still want me, or if they've gone AWOL. And I've got a button that says booked or ghosted.
Yeah, I mean, they say, I mean, you should be following up with someone until either you die or they die, or you get a no. Obviously, if you've had a no, then don't keep following up with them. That's not the way to do it. But otherwise, you should just keep following up with everyone, because people get busy, they forget. And generally, most people don't mind being reminded that you were in the middle of a conversation or something. But
No, exactly that. I heard a tip recently about like if you email them like a third time after trying to chase up an inquiry, saying something along the lines of, absolutely no worries if you don't want to book me. I assume you don't want my services anymore. So, I'm going to close this like email chain.
Yeah.
Good luck with the rest of your wedding planning. A lot of the time people will come back and be like, no, I do still want you. So sometimes, again, like going back to reverse psychology, if you say it's all right, I'm going to leave you alone now because I assume you don't want my services. It's funny how many people will be like, no, that's not the case at all.
Yeah, there's a figure out there of following up if you do it correctly and in the sort of right timeframes and stuff. Obviously, it's not like day after day after day after day.
Yeah.
But it can literally increase your income by like 50%. So it's definitely worth doing.
And like you said, it's just figuring out those the right times, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
people just don't feel, they feel like they don't want to be annoying, but just, like if they don't want to hire you, they'll say no. So
yeah, exactly. The other app I would say is InShot, which is a video editing app. And for anyone that doesn't quite get along with CapCut because they find it too confusing, InShot is quite, I would say personally, it's an easier platform to use.
Really? I've not heard of that one. Yeah, everyone says CapCut.
Everyone says CapCut. I don't get on with CapCut as well as I do InShot. And there are some features that CapCut has that InShot doesn't, but it's not enough for me to go over to that platform. I love InShot. Yeah. I think it's user friendly, and I'm all about user friendly apps.
Yeah, interesting. So, if you were just starting out now, what would be the first thing that you'd do?
I think. Does this go on from the like biggest mistake you've made question, or is that going to be next?
That's going to be next.
Okay. Oh no, yeah, I've got it in my notes here. Sorry, Jack. You can cut this out too.
That's all right.
Yeah, I've got that here. The thing I'd do if I was starting out again, I'd probably try and establish my competitor market and figure out what I could do that makes me different from, for example, female acoustic wedding singers. A lot earlier on. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get, because they're well received online and mainly in real life situations, my medleys, my acoustic medleys, which are completely like self-created, I'm realizing that's probably where I should try and push myself a bit more this year to step myself aside from other female wedding singers that sing acoustic songs. So yeah, I guess there's niching down, but there's also just finding what you enjoy doing and how you can make it slightly different to make yourself stand out from the rest of the crowd. Yeah.
I think it's the important word there is what you enjoy doing as well, because that makes it so much easier. If it's like, if you hate it, then it's never going to work, is it?
Pointless, exactly.
So what is the biggest mistake that you've made in your business, and what did you learn from it?
I think, and this kind of rounds up the start of the conversation nicely, but going into this industry without any kind of idea of how I was going to get to my goals, or more specifically, how I was going to earn money, because I just kind of left my job knowing that I was in a very, very fortunate position where my partner said, look, just you do you. If it doesn't work out like 1 month to the next, it's okay. I can support us for now. It's all right. But actually having that social media job last year, the part-time one, where I was able to still spend, 5 days of my week focusing on my singing and only 2 days on the social media, that ended up being really important for my personal growth in the self-employed world, but also for the growth of my business. I needed that income to not put the pressure on myself to solely earn from singing straight away.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, especially because I'd been out of the game for so long, like I said, I was singing alongside my full-time job, but nowhere near as much as I had been before in 2019. So it's building those relationships. And like I said, I now have people knocking on my door of like venues that I've sung in before, for example, and it's all starting to pay off. But to begin with, I had to put so much work in to build these relationships to even get public gigs, let alone weddings. So it was, I probably, if I was starting again, I would look at easing my way into self-employment and focusing on making a full-time income from my singing a bit more, rather than just going, I'm just going to do it. And
I kind of love that though. And also sometimes you can't know unless you just try and see what happens.
Exactly.
I think I do love that though, that you just went for it.
And sometimes you're going to make mistakes along the way. And I just think as long as you can learn from them, it's fine.
Yeah. And generally I find like if you go with your gut, like it generally works out, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's what I believe.
So it's so good to hear that you've had a good year and things are going really well. But like, what have you got? What's coming up this year now? What you got planned?
Yes, so a lot more weddings, like I said, from strangers that don't know me for this year, which is really exciting. A lot more public gigs, which is not necessarily the route I wanted to go down, but I just don't mind at this point because it's bringing in the money. And also, I hit wedding fairs a lot last year. And I'm just thinking, if I can do public gigs and that breeds private functions or weddings, then great. And if it doesn't, that's okay because I still get paid. So yes, a lot more of the public gigs. And also it keeps me feeling like I'm kind of still in the game and I'm not a fraud. And every gig I do is almost like a rehearsal now. Yeah. And my voice is the strongest it's ever been because I'm singing a lot more. Yeah. Publicly. And, singing at home and rehearsing is so different to singing in front of a crowd. Vocally. So that's good. And then also, just being there for anyone that wants to grow their social media through video content, knowing that it is king. I am offering the content creation services for specifically wedding suppliers at the moment. Just want to up their social media game. So that's me for this year, Jack. I've got my finger in a few pies, but not too many.
Yeah, no, I've loved seeing your growth over the last year as well. It's been it's really nice to watch. So, and really good to catch up again as well.
You too.
So if people want to find out more or connect with you, where would you send them?
Absolutely. So just type in Shalana Serafina Weddings. Shalana is said how it's spelt, Shalana. And if you have any questions for me, social media related, please feel free to ask me because I always love to give advice and help people where I can. And this kind of happened last time we did the podcast. I met so many lovely people who had listened to us and connected with fellow musicians. So it was really great. So yes, don't be shy to DM me.
Wicked. Yeah, this has been so fun.
Thanks, Jack. It has been.
So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you again to Shalana for coming on and chatting. You'll find all her links in the episode description along with anything else that I've mentioned. And that is it for this episode. Take it easy and I'll catch you next week for episode 5.